Hello, my name is Janet Mihalak and I'm a dietitian and food lover. Today, I am going to present you with a list of the most harmful and worthless products for your health, which the supermarket shelves are full of. Be sure to watch this video to the end and check if you are eating these harmful products. As a nutritionist, I am appalled by how much we have been inundated with highly processed foods in the last decade or so. And what is worse, this is actually partly at our own request. And that's because many of us are keen on products that are quick and easy to prepare. This is partly understandable, of course, because who among us has the time to prepare the meals from the scratch every day? If you do that, meaning you prepare everything you eat yourself, then of course a big plus for you. I can assure you that the time you spend preparing meals is a great investment in your health and it will pay off. But unfortunately, the reality is that most people do not have the time to make every meal themselves, so they use ready-made products. And in most cases, ready-made products that you just throw in a pot and heat or dissolve in water are worthless and often even harmful. And while I believe that there is a place for everything in a healthy diet, this doesn't mean that some products can be consumed without restraint. And the number of patients turning up at dietitians and doctors' surgeries shows that we are losing control of what we eat and in what quantities. Therefore, with this video, I would like to make you aware of what exactly eating harmful food entails and which products from shop shelves we can count as such. I will start with sugary drinks, both carbonated and non-carbonated. I consider them to be one of the most insidious and dangerous products for health. Sneaky because they are tasty, because we think they quench thirst, and because they seem innocent. After all, what could be so bad about colored water? In addition, they do not make us feel particularly full, which means that we can even drink 1 or 2 liters a day. The worst ingredient in sweetened drinks is of course sugar, or rather an ocean of sugar. On average, this colorful drink contains 8 to 10 teaspoons of sugar per 500 milliliters, and 500 milliliters is one standard bottle, or if you prefer, 2 glasses. And these alarming amounts of sugar do not just apply to the notorious cola. Very many fruit drinks, the non-carbonated ones, keep pace with carbonated drinks. I feel that when I talk about the harm caused by sugar itself, about studies that show how much harm we can do with it, many people downplay the issue. Some people think that if they do not use sugar in the kitchen, that is, if they do not sweeten their tea or add it to their baking, then the problem of sugar's harmfulness will disappear. Therefore, I want to show you that it's very wrong thinking. I'll give you a specific study where researchers looked at what happened when we regularly consumed sweetened drinks rather than sugar alone. Firstly, people who drink sweetened drinks have a higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes by up to 34%. Secondly, sweetened drinks cause a significant increase in uric acid levels in the blood, which can subsequently lead to the development of gout, rheumatoid arthritis, and many other diseases. Thirdly, reaching for sweetened drinks is associated with a higher risk of coronary heart disease, to put it somehow sarcastically, by just 13%. Fourthly, drinking sweetened drinks is not good for your mental health because, as research shows, they increase the risk of developing depression, and not by 5, 10 or 15%, but by as much as 38%. Fifthly, sweetened drinks are pro-cancerous and lead to breast and prostate cancer. Sixthly, sweetened drinks are not very friendly to teeth, causing enamel erosion and decay, and in turn such teeth are a focus of inflammation that contributes to chronic disease. Seventhly, with every additional glass of sweetened drink, the risk of obesity increased by 12% and hypertension by 10%. And with this unfortunate 7, I will end the story on the harmfulness of sweetened drinks. Another group of products that should be avoided is processed red meat, meaning all kinds of hams, sausages, packaged meat, tinned meat. And while I'm not against of meat, I believe that frequent consumption of it in its highly processed form, the one that dominates the shops, is an assault on our health. This is mainly due to one of the preservatives added to meat products, namely sodium nitrite, which is labeled E2500 on the product labels. Although I will point out here that you can find processed meat without this additive. Admittedly, this relationship is important from the point of view of ensuring microbiological safety. It is very effective in destroying the bacterium Clostridium botulinum, which can be found in meat and which is the cause of botulism. Unfortunately, when exposed to heat treatment, for example cooking or frying, sodium nitrite can combine with certain compounds leading to the formation of toxic nitrosamines. However, meat does not have to be cooked at all for these harmful nitrosamines to form. All it takes is an acidic stomach environment and you are done. Nitrosamines have been classified by the International Agency for Research on Cancer as a probable human carcinogen. For example, studies show that nitrate consumption increases the risk of stomach cancer by as much as 34%. In some articles and films, I have come across the information that the aforementioned sodium nitrite combines with hemoglobin in our body, and as a result, a so-called methemoglobin is formed. It prevents oxygen from combining with hemoglobin, leading to tissue hypoxia. This results in symptoms such as shortness of breath, dizziness, and tachycardia. And while these mechanisms do occur, the amounts of sodium nitrate in food are nevertheless too low to have this effect. But let us return to processed meat itself. The scientific data on its impact on health are alarming. People who regularly eat red meat are more likely to develop breast cancer, colon cancer, bladder cancer, and pancreatic cancer. Frequent consumption of processed meat products also increases the risk of heart failure and of coronary heart disease. I also include confectionery among the products that are particularly hazardous to health. And I am not just talking about products that consist particularly of sugar, such as sweets, jellies, and high-sugar jams. Equally, if not more dangerous, are those who contain trans-saturated fats in addition to sugar. Their sources are mainly biscuits, yeast, donuts, chocolate wafers, cakes, and bars. These trans fats are formed by hydrogenation or hardening of vegetable oils. This process changes the consistency of the fat from liquid to solid. This makes pastries, for example, more crumbly and keeps them fresher for longer. Unfortunately, at the same time, they are also becoming more unhealthy. And to put it bluntly, toxic to health. For example, eating products containing trans fats promotes insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. In some countries, there is no obligation to indicate the trans fat content on the label, as is done for the salt or sugar. Therefore, as consumers, we have no way of knowing how many of these harmful compounds are specifically in a given product. Although, there is a way to be sure that trans fats are in a product. If one of the product label in the list of ingredients listed has the term particularly hydrogenated, then we can be sure that we are holding a product containing trans fats. Salty snacks are also certainly harmful. We are talking here about sticks, crackers, salted nuts, or crisps. It is the salt that makes them dangerous to health. Of course, among other reasons, because in these products, salt is accompanied by the trans fats I have already mentioned. When nutritionists recommend reducing salt intake, we usually think it's about not adding salt to food when cooking and on the plate, but this is not as necessary as we would think. We should know that chloride ion activates an enzyme amylase, therefore moderately salted food is easier to digest. The source of chlorine in the food ration is salt. Research shows that up to 80% of the salt we consume comes from ready-made products and only 20% comes from our kitchen salt. Therefore, instead of reducing salt at home when cooking, it would be better to reach for salty snacks less often or even not at all. And this is a game worth playing because excess salt precisely from salty snacks causes increased blood pressure, hypertension, and obesity. When it comes to products that have a negative impact on our health, it is impossible not to mention ready meals. Fast foods like pizzas, casseroles, hot dogs, hamburgers, and fries, they all are sources of all the worst things which I mentioned. I am referring here to sugar, salt, trans fats, preservatives. Flavor enhancers such as monosodium glutamate and glucose-fructose syrup are also among the infamous ingredients present in those products. I do not want to lump all these products together, which is why I will add here that there are sometimes products in this range that are quite well formulated. But there is also some indication that phthalates may be present in fast food. These are toxic compounds used in the manufacture of paints and varnishes, and incidentally, they are used to make food packaging in which fast food is very often sold. Unfortunately, they have a high capacity to penetrate food. Phthalates can possibly cause cancer and contribute to impaired fertility. Researchers have noted that it is the fast food eaters who have higher levels of phthalates in the body. Therefore, when asking yourself whether it is worth eating just fast food, the answer pops into your mouth. I would also include powdered soups among the worthless products that many people reach for. Their vast majority consists mainly of flour, salt, sugar, flavor enhancers, palm oil, and colors. Usually, unfortunately, you will find dried vegetables and spices at the very end of the composition. The same is true for powdered salad dressings. Their packaging always features aesthetically pleasing graphics depicting a mixture of herbs and vegetables, and inside is the same as in the soups. The first place in the composition is salt, sugar, and so on. So if you are in the habit of putting these products in your basket, you might want to think about some changes. In fact, every day with our food we provide our bodies with harmful compounds. Fortunately, we are equipped with intestines, liver, and kidneys that neutralize these toxic substances to some extent. And not to overwhelm our detoxification system, we should think of reducing exposure to compounds dangerous to our health. And that is all for today's video. I encourage you to comment on this topic and to share the video so more people can hear about the issue. Thank you for watching and see you next time.